May 30th. Dear little brother, you whispered when you gave me this pale green book with the blank pages. You didn't want Uncle Rubel or our mother to hear us talking. I don't know why Ami wouldn't care. But Uncle Rubel, is he mean to you when I'm away? At least he gives us a place to live. I don't want to speak ill of any of our relations, of course, but I'm not certain Baba liked him either. I miss our father so much. Will we ever get used to him being gone, Umar? I wished you remembered when we lived in the village before the bad thing happened and we had to move to Karachi. Baba owned a store and was well respected. We had a house. It was small, but I had my own room. At this time of the year, you could smell the wildflowers that grew in a small patch near the spring, especially these blue flowers shaped like bells. Ami called them bluebells, and Baba would laugh and ask if she could hear them ringing. Ami had several saris and dupattas then, made from the softest silks with the most becoming colors. She was much admired, our mother, but then our brother Raman was accused, and I got hurt. That is not the story you want to hear right now, though, is it? You wanted me to write stories about my life in Begum Nasim's house where I work as a servant, and then read them to you when I visit on my day off. I will try to do that, little brother. You are only 6 years old. I know you will not like hearing this, but you are too young for some of these things. Like the story of how I got hurt. Even though you are the only person I've ever let touch the scar on my face, you said it looks like the new moon we watch for at the end of Ramadan. You grinned. That's the time when we get to feast and celebrate, just like I celebrate every time you come home. And you asked if it hurt. I told you no, but it does hurt. Every time I look in the mirror, which is not often, and I move my dupatta away from my cheek, my heart hurts to see what they did to me. Why am I talking about this? It must be Uncle Rubel. I do not want to be unkind, Umar, but he reminds me of the men from the village, and that makes me shudder. I don't like him talking to Ami about money. I give her all my pay, little as it is. It must be enough to pay for you both. Plus our brothers send money, or at least they used to. I'm not certain now what they do. Anyway, you gave me that little green book and showed me your little red book, and I wonder how long it was before he died that Baba packed the books in the bottom of that box where you found them today. Baba had written Adira on the first blank page of my book and Umar on the first blank page of your book. Remember Shahrazad he wrote in my green book, and Learn Wisely he wrote to you in the red book. Do you think he knew he was going to die? It was very hard for him to lose everything. I was only 13 when we left the village. He tried for 4 years to make our life better here. I think it hurt him that our brothers did not come home to help. Maybe they never realized how bad things had gotten. I don't think I will read you everything I write in here. I'm writing too many sad things, even though I don't feel sad. Fatima, another servant here, is snoring next to me. I should be sleeping, but I'm remembering telling you stories tonight before I left, like Baba used to tell me when I was your age. He taught me to read and write, too. I hope Ami sends you to school and doesn't listen to Uncle Rubel. You should not be working at your age. Whatever happens, I will make certain you learn to read and write. Fatima found me a pencil to use to write in this little green book. I can hide it in the book and put both in my pocket. Tonight I told you the story of Shahrazad, the very wise and beautiful woman who saved herself and all the young women of the kingdom. The king was mad with grief because his first wife betrayed him. He would not risk another betrayal, so he took a new wife. Each night he had a new wife killed each morning. One day Shahrazad asked her father to put her name forward as the next bride. Her father tried to talk her out of this dangerous course. She told him that she had learned all of her lessons very well. Trust me, she told her father. Her father eventually did as she asked. The king and Shahrazad married. In the morning, she asked her husband for one last favor. Could she tell her sister a story? He agreed, and she told the story, and it was night again. So he spared her life that night. And she told another story and another, and each night for 1001 nights, Shahrazad told a story that saved her life, until the king finally decided she had told enough stories and he allowed her to live. That's how we got Alf Layla wa Layla, 1,000 Nights and One Night. Even though Baba says Shahrazad was not a historical person, I believe someone like her existed. Maybe many someones like her. When Baba first told me this tale, I said, a king can kill people? Baba said, a king can do anything, but he has someone he must answer to, even if it is his own conscience. Everyone has someone like the king in their life. Shahrazad was clever. She didn't wait for her fate. She went to the king and said, let me tell you a story, and she saved her own life. No sense in crying and wailing over how terrible your life is. Someone always has it worse. Someone always has it better. Before you went to sleep tonight, Umar, you said, I want to see the moon. But we have no window, I said. You gently pulled my scarf away so you could see my scar. I leaned down and you kissed it. I will never have a husband, and I will probably always be a servant in a household like this one. But I have the best brother in the world. Your breath on my cheek, on my scar, felt like the breath of Allah. You said, promise you will never leave me. I promise, I said. Promise you will never leave me. Never, you said. Good night, sweet brother. Dream of the two of us flying on a magic carpet, will you? We are flying far, far from here. Your loving sister, Nadira. Someday I will bring you to this place where I work, Umar. It's so big, and Begum Nasim and her husband Tariq Salim and their children don't seem to notice how big it is. At first I sometimes got lost, but after 3 years I know it well. Do you remember when I came here to work? It was 2 years before Baba died. We needed the income, and our parents became certain then of what I already knew. They would not find a husband for me. Umar, you would hardly believe all the 3 children here are blessed with. They have their own rooms, each with a bathroom, television set, and telephone. The boy has a computer. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but I often hear his mother complain. Duri spends too much time on that computer. What does he see on that screen? I have stood looking at that screen, which is like a television, and I have seen nothing. When Duri just touches it, the screen brightens. I've tried that and when he is not home, but it remains dark. They are very proud of their son, and naturally, and his 2 sisters spoil him. The eldest, Noor, is getting married soon. We are already preparing for the wedding feast. Today I helped cook. They call her Cook, as though she has no name, but when I asked her what her name was, she frowned and said Cook. So I call her that too. She has lived with this family a long while. Did Baba ever tell you his father worked here before he came to live with us? Our grandfather was Begum Nasim's gardener, and she says he was very good. He talked to the plants in the earth, Begum Nasim told me. Sometimes he even argued with them, she laughed. And the gardens were always beautiful. He lived in that tiny house in the back. The one where all the garden tools are now, I asked. Yes, but he had it fixed up nicely. He'd have tea out there, plus his bed and some books. Your grandmother had died many years before. Then he retired and went to live with you. Do you remember him? Yes, I told her. He lived only a few years after he moved in with us. He was always trying to teach me and my mother the names of flowers. We weren't very good at remembering them. My father used to say I had a way with animals, just like my grandfather had a way with plants. I did not tell her that my skill was not much use any longer, since I never really encounter animals here except for the dead ones in the market. We owned a cow when we lived in the village. She liked me. Sometimes when I walked alone in the hills, the wild animals did not run away from me. I wonder if that would still be true. But never mind about all that. I was saying I worked with Cook today. More and more I've been helping Cook with the meals. I like cooking much better than cleaning. I can smell the jasmine flowers from outside the kitchen window while I'm rinsing the lentils for dal. I close my eyes and breathe deeply and imagine twining the flowers together to wear as a necklace. I can smell all day long. I put seeds in the windowsill, and sometimes a small bird or two will fly in and take them. Cook often says something like, "Pay attention to your work. Quickly, pick the stones out of the lentils." Cook is very old. She worked in the household of Begum Nasim's mother's mother. She remembers what Begum Nasim's mother was born. She talks to herself all the time, and lately she says she's going to live with her granddaughter out in the country. We made tea for Begum Nasim's friends this afternoon. They were awaiting the arrival of the Chori woman. I was looking forward to seeing all the beautiful bangles. It was the birthday of one of the women, so Begum Nasim asked the Chori Wali to bring extra bangles. While Cook sat and drank tea and rested her old wrinkled soles, I made samosas and pakoras. I do not want to be disrespectful, but Ami is a much better cook than Cook. When Baba had the store in the village, Ami used to prepare delicious meals. No one could make pulao like she could. She knew exactly when to buy produce so that it tasted fresh off the vine or out of the ground, and her bayrani, it's still good, as you know, but it used to be so much better when we lived in the village. Cook's samosas and pakoras are too spicy. When she told me how much chili powder to put in, I sprinkled in less. Her halwa is sweet too. Ami says too much hot and too much sweet is the disguise of a bad cook. Not that Cook is bad, she's just tired. She let me make the masala chai all by myself because she knows Begum Nasim likes the way I prepare it. All the women like my masala chai so much that I'm usually allowed to sit off to the side while the Chori Wali shows her goods. Our mother and father differed slightly on how to brew masala chai. Baba liked to boil it, but Ami thought boiling brews the essence of the tea. Ami showed me her way. I remember it well because she repeated the steps in the story many times. As she put a pot of water, over the heat for chai, she said, "Masala chai has been with us for thousands of years. They say the king As she put the pot of water over the heat for masala chai, she said, "It has been with us for thousands of years. They say the king protected the recipe as one of his most cherished treasures. This was because it had magical and medicinal properties." She crushed a couple of cardamom pods, whole cloves, and a cinnamon stick and dropped them into the water along with the black tea leaves. The concoction simmered for a bit. Then our mother poured it all into the tea kettle and let it steep. The king's servants prepared buckets and buckets of masala chai for his subjects every day. He was a good king, you see. His people were renowned for their good health and longevity. When Ami put fresh whole milk into the tea kettle along with some sugar or honey, she poured the whole concoction back into the pan and then into the tea kettle again, and after a moment she poured it from the kettle into the waiting cups. I have heard it said that the first masala chai made from the original recipe could cure any ailment and would help you live a long and healthy life, she said. The recipe was eventually stolen from the king. What the thieves didn't know was that the king had changed the recipe just slightly. So their masala chai was not the real masala chai. To this day, that is why nearly everyone changes the recipe they know a bit. They are trying to brew the king's original masala chai, and maybe someday you will figure it out, daughter. And then she handed me a cup. Umar, someday Ami and I will teach you how to prepare masala chai. Today I serve Begum Nasim and Noor, their friends, masala chai, samosas, pakoras, and halwa. I love your tea, Nadira, Noor said. It's always just the right blend of milk and sweetener. And these samosas, usually I can't eat samosas because they are so hot, said another woman. Yours are wonderful. I was glad Cook was not in the room to hear these praises. She might have thought they were veiled criticisms of her cooking. The bangle woman came in soon after. You would have been amazed at her baskets of bangles. I have never seen so many different colors. The woman kept slipping or pushing on bangle after bangle, orange, blue, maroon, red, purple, gold. Nora danced around the room with her arms covered in bangles, her hair laced with jasmine. I have such big hands, one of them said. Each woman always wants to be the one who can wear the smallest bangle, which would mean they have the smallest hands. Oh, why do you bring us such small bangles? Begum Nasim asked. We are old women with fat hands. She is not speaking for me, one of the women said, snatching the tiny bangle and trying to push her hand through it. She could not, so Noor tried. She failed too, then the next woman, and then the next one. I know who can wear it, Noor said, running over to me. Before I could stop her, she slipped the bangle up over my hand, just like a baby's hand, she said, holding my fingers in hers for a moment. She is the tiniest of us all. I envy your hands, Nadira. There, keep the bangle. It looks good on you. I smiled. Out of the corner of my vision. I saw Begum Nasim shaking her head at Noor. I quickly slipped off the gold bangle and gave it back to her. I pulled my scarf closer to my face, and then I picked up the near empty halwa tray as an excuse to leave the room. Noor, I heard her mother say as I walked down the hall, how can you be so insensitive? I was just showing everyone how beautiful and tiny her hands are, Noor said. I went to the empty kitchen and put more halwa on the plate. I could not wear one bangle. No one wore one bangle, but even 2 arms covered in bangles would not hide the scar on my face. Even though my depata did a good job of it, I walked to the sink, turned on the water, and washed my hands. Our mother's bangles were the one thing that she did not sell when we moved to Karachi. After our father died, Ami took off all her bangles, as widows often do, and she smashed them. She broke each and every one into pieces. There, my life is over, she said. Now everyone knows it. I took a deep breath and went back into the room full of women. I put the plate of halwa on the table and then sat back on the floor away from them. Did you hear they rescued 4 more children who had been used as camel kids? One woman asked as she pushed on several bangles and then shook them off again. Did they steal the children or did their parents sell them? Begum Nasim asked. What kind of parents would sell their children to ride camels for the sheikh? Noor asked. A very poor parent, Begum Nasim answered. Poverty is a stick. Some parents cannot spare their children. 3 of these children didn't even know their real names, the woman said, or who their parents are, what their language was. They all had broken bones. All 4 were under the age of 10 and had been working as camel riders for years. Noor shook her head. The things people do for entertainment. Tomorrow I get to see you, little brother. I will feel your tiny fingers wrapped around my fingers. Don't worry, Umar. Someday you will be bigger than I am. You will be teasing me about how small I am. Sometimes I wish I were bigger, or at least looked older. People still see me as a child, even though I'm 18 years old. Yesterday I was cleaning the library here when I saw Alf Layla wa Layla on the shelf. I carefully brought it out and put it on the table and opened it up. Begum Nasim came in while I was looking at it. I thought she would be mad, but she wasn't. You can take that to your room and read it at night if you like, she said, if you promise to be careful. Thank you, I said, seeing it reminded me of my father. He used to read the copy from a copy his mother had given him when he was a boy. She could read and write too. She wrote in it, to my beloved son, remember Shahrazad and always learn wisely. Begum Nasim nodded. I never had the pleasure of meeting your grandmother. Do you read from your father's copy now that he is gone? No, he sold it along with most of our belongings when we moved here. I said, so he could get goods for his stall at the market. He sold rice and beans. Yes, I remember, Begum Nasim said. I keep forgetting she knew our father. How is your mother? I didn't know how to answer that question, so I told the truth. She is worried about expenses, I said. I give her everything. But your brothers? I could feel the red rising to my face. Perhaps they do not know, she said. I have written several times, I said. My oldest brother works in an oil field and no women are allowed, so my mother cannot live with him there. And his wife and children are already crowded back in Islamabad. My mother says they have their own lives, but it is their responsibility, she said. After we left the village, I said it all changed. I touched my cheek. I couldn't help it. I wish I could stop that particular habit. I will have to work on it. I don't think Begum Nasim noticed. Is your mother working? Not since my father died, I said. She was cooking and cleaning for a woman, but that lady died shortly before my father did. Well, give your mother my regards, Begum Nasim said. Let me know if she needs anything. She is grateful that you let me work and stay here, I said. We were glad to have you, Begum Nasim said, and I appreciate your help. I could tell she was uncomfortable and wanted to leave, so I started to put the book back on the shelf. Why don't you keep it, she said. My children never use this library. Thank you, I said. She nodded and left me alone. I slipped the book back into its place on the shelf. I did not want to be ungrateful, but I didn't want her copy. I wanted Baba's. Inside that copy was true magic. At least I believed that at one time. Now I was not certain about anything. I finished cleaning the room and counted the hours until I saw you and Ami. Dearest brother, you know now that I was not able to come home. Cook fell and hurt herself and had to go to the hospital. I had to stay and help Begum Nasim. She is a good cook too, but she gets nervous, especially when other people come into the kitchen. I did this, cook, when I was first married, Begum Nasim told me. I can do it now. That lasted 24 hours. Then she hired a temporary replacement for Cook. Although I don't think Cook will be coming back. Her granddaughter has arrived from the country and wants her to take her home. I sometimes miss living in the country. We knew everyone in the village. They knew us. It's not like that here. Ami trusts no one in the city. Too many thieves, she told me when we first came here. I said to her, maybe we'll be like Ali Baba and we'll find the treasure of the 40 thieves. Open sesame, Baba said. You've given this girl too many ideas, Ami said. What is she going to do with them all? Baba laughed and said, if she has too many ideas, perhaps she can sell some of them. Open a shop of ideas. What do you say, daughter of mine? Baba was in good spirits that day. He had just started selling his beans and rice. She could call it 1,000 ideas and one idea, Ami. Ami had to laugh too. You were so tiny then, just a baby, and the scar on my face had barely healed. You were such a gift to our family, Umar. We had such a celebration after you were born. After I was hurt, I would sometimes pretend you were my own child because I knew I would never have one of my own. How could I? No man would marry me. But even before, Umar, know that we all cherished you. In the village, few girls could read. Baba taught me to read and write. He even taught me English in case he went to England someday, he said. Before I was hurt, some of the women warned our mother that no man would want to marry me because I would think I was better than a man who could not read. She didn't tell them that she could read too. That was before our eldest brother was accused. Rahman swears he never touched that girl. He admitted he hoped Baba and Ami could arrange a marriage between them, but he never followed her out to the patch of bluebells as they claimed. I wonder what the girl said. I have forgotten her name. Isn't that strange? Did she accuse Rahman? I think it was her brothers and father. They were jealous of Baba. He was smarter and richer. They owed him money. Baba knew they were poor, so he gave them credit. Maybe he would not let them get anything else if they didn't pay off their debt. I do not know really. They went to the elders and with the other men of the village and accused Rahman, without Baba being there. He was found guilty, and the sentence was, can I actually write it here? Will I be condemned if I do? Will my scar suddenly burst into flames and burn my skin? Will someone find out I spoke of it and come in the night and pour acid on me, or you or Ami? They did that to my friend Asha when her parents refused a proposal of marriage for her. It was terrible, Umar. They poured acid on the whole family while they slept. Her little brother was killed. She was disfigured. I would never do anything to hurt you, dear brother. Not that Asha did anything either. I should stop thinking about this. Fatima is home with her family, so she cannot hear my weeping or see my tears. The sentence they handed out for our brother's alleged crime was that the father and brothers of the girl that got permission to attack Rahman's sister, me. And so they did. That is how I got the scar. Perhaps I have told you too much, little brother. When we moved to Karachi, I overheard Ami talking to Auntie Parvin. What did you expect? That girl Rahman had his eye on became damaged property, so they had to damage his father's property, your daughter. But none of it was true, Ami said. Rahman did nothing to the girl. Auntie Parvin shrugged and said, We are nothing in this world. Now Nadira is less than nothing. At least she won't have the burden of marriage and motherhood. You would rather she lived in servitude and poverty? What is the difference between her life and ours? Auntie Parveen asked. I was given to this man, Rubel, your brother. I know and must do his bidding until he dies. That was not my choice. Getting ruined by those men was not Nadira's choice. So what? She was not ruined, Ami said. She got away from them before they could rape her. That's why they scarred her face. So she says, Auntie Parveen said, but they did touch her. That is enough, and she is soiled. Ami's anger melted then, and she wept. Auntie Parveen hesitated, and then she put her arm around our mother. She is not so mean as she pretends. She has a hard life. Anyone who has to live with Rubel has a difficult life. I sometimes think maybe Raman doesn't come home and help our mother because he feels shame over what happened in the village. Even if he never touched that girl, and I believe he did not, I must be a constant reminder to him of what happened, me and my scarred face. But back to Cook getting hurt. They hired a new cook. Did I say that? She is not a kind woman. We had a lull in activity after we cleaned up after lunch, so I was feeding the birds on the windowsill. A finch actually took the seeds from my hand, just like in the village. The new cook walked over, slapped my hand. Get back to work, she said. Begum Nasim walked by just then. We do not hit people in this house, Begum Nasim said. She was feeding a wild bird, the woman exclaimed. What about the bird flu? Begum Nasim sighed. She does not like confrontation. Who does? I will prepare dinner. You may go home for the day. The woman made a noise, then left the room. I do not know why, Umar, but I thought this was all very funny. I had to put my hand over my mouth just to keep from laughing. Begum Nasim started laughing too. I should have sneezed, Begum said, and I could have coughed, I said. I could not believe I said that out loud, but she laughed, and then we cooked dinner together. Did your mother teach you to cook? Begum Nasim asked while we prepared the chicken curry. I did the chicken, she made the kheer. It is difficult for anyone to make bad rice pudding, after all. I told her Ami had taught me all that I knew, that Cook had tried to unteach me. For some reason, Begum Nasim laughs at the things I say, the kinds of things Ami says I should keep to myself. Begum Nasim reminds me of Baba in that way, but I need to be careful. She is my employer, and I am her servant. She is kind, though, and kindness is a great gift to bestow on anyone, Umar. I have an idea, Nadira, Begum Nasim said. Would your mother be interested in helping out during the wedding? Cooking, I mean? Then if that works out, she and your brother could move into the little house your grandfather used to live in. I could have Salik clean it out, make some alterations. There might be room to add a small bathroom and half kitchen. I was so excited I could barely keep from jumping up and down. You and Ami would have a place to live, and we would see each other all the time. I pretended I was very calm, however, Umar. I said, I will ask Ami when I get home. This is very kind, Begum Nasim. Afterward, I went and looked at the tiny house. It is not truly a house. It is almost like a dollhouse. But you and Ami are small people, and it's bigger than the rooms you live in now. Salik was working nearby on the gardens. He is a young, unmarried man who has taken over a gardening business from his father. He has helped his father, Haji Abdul Rasik, for many years, but not many words have passed between us. I have seen friends of Begum Nasim's daughters flirt with him, and he does not respond. He may be a traditionalist, like the men in the village. Perhaps he is just shy, or maybe he understands his place. If he responded to the girls, he would probably be fired. Of course, as soon as they see him limping, they'll lose interest in him. Salik does not work as quickly as his father did because of the limp. But I think he does a better job. He handles the flowers gently, and I have never seen him yank anything out of the ground the way his father sometimes did. He does not work here full time, of course, since there isn't enough work. He also takes care of a few other houses on the street. He nods when he sees me and smiles slightly without actually looking at me. I only mention his work because I believe he will do a good job on the tiny house. He is a very careful worker. I miss you and our mother so much, little brother. I will be glad if you can come live here. Maybe we have unknowingly said the secret words like open sesame to the doors to the treasures of life. See you soon. Today, Begum Nasim came and told me that I was needed at home immediately. She even had Salik drive me there. I knew something was wrong when I got into the truck and no one else was there. It doesn't matter since I'm already ruined. A guy and a girl, I can't ride in a truck together alone if they're not married. So, as we drove away from Begum Nasim and Tariq Salim's house and got closer to our neighborhood, I noticed how quickly the color seemed to drain out of the city. I thought of Baba's stall in the market. When he first opened it, it was so colorful and tidy and not a grease stain or anything. The top of the stall was covered in red. Oh, the brightness of that red. Everyone knew my father had the finest beans, the best rice, but it didn't matter. Soon his stall looked like the other stalls. I'm selling goods to poor people, he said, so I'm always going to be poor. But Baba, I said, didn't you sell to poor people in the village too? He didn't answer. He stared away from me. Baba lost hope, Umar. That was what happened. He hated this place. I heard him tell Ami that if he could get a place in the Empress Market, that maybe things would be better. He had had a place there before I was born, but but our second brother Hassan had asthma, and the doctor told Baba and Ami they needed to get away from the city, so they moved to the village. Poor Baba, do you think he felt ruined by his children? He did everything for us. Left the city for Hassan, left the country for me and Raman. It was not my fault what happened, or Raman's. I am glad Baba was not alive to find out what I found when Salik drove me to the shack. Uncle Rubel makes us call home. Ami was there, crying, along with Auntie Parveen. Uncle Rubel paced the tiny room. Ami, I said, dropping onto my knees in front of her. What happened? Where's Umar? He's gone, Ami cried. We've searched for him for 2 days. 2 days? Why didn't someone come and get me? I know Umar's hiding places. Have you searched the market? He sometimes likes to go to Baba's old stall, or his friend Almas. He was playing with Almas when it happened, Auntie Parveen said. Can I get any tea around here? Uncle Rubel said. Our mother started to get up, but I hung on to her legs, so Auntie Parveen fetched Uncle Rubel his tea instead. He was sweating more than usual, and I wondered if he was sick. But I didn't care, brother. I only wanted to know where you were. Please, what happened? I asked. The smugglers got him, Uncle Rubel said. What smugglers, Ami? Ami, what is he talking about? Uncle Rubel gave me a dirty look. I pulled the scarf closer, down over my scar. They were here last week, Auntie Parveen said. They asked Rubel if they could have Umar to train as a camel kid, Ami said. Of course, I said it was outrageous, Uncle Rubel said, but I asked your mother out of respect. It has been very difficult since your father died. It is only out of the goodness of my heart that you, your mother, and brother still have a home here. You are family, of course, and I promised our dear parents I would always look after my only sister. But I have debts to pay, too, and I could get a good sum for this place. I wanted to shout that we didn't need his hovel any longer, now that Begum Nasim had offered us a place to live, but I held my tongue. Almas described the men who took Umar. Auntie Parveen said, and they were the same smugglers who approached Rubel. They tried to get Almas, too, but he ran faster. Umar has always been a little slow. He's just small, I snapped. Did you go to the police? Yes, your uncle took me, Ami said. They said they would go to the docks and search the ships and go to the airport and search the airplanes, but I don't know if they will. I'll go look for him, I said. I know him better than anyone else. I've already looked, Uncle Rubel said. Could one of my cousins come with me so I can look for Umar, I asked. We never see them, I know, because they think they are better than we are, but I thought maybe now, when we are so desperate, they would actually help. But Uncle Rubel said his sons were all busy. Then he took Auntie Parveen away for dinner. I wish I could describe to you what that night was like, Umar. I know you will want to know when you are safely home again, but it is difficult. Everything felt blurry, out of focus, like when we first moved here. Nothing seemed solid. It was the worst night of my life, little brother. Ami and I could not eat. We both sat silently on the floor, a dish of Bairani before us. I could not sleep. I kept thinking of you screaming as the smugglers carried you away. Only Almas said you did not scream. He said they whispered something in your ear, and you reached your hand up and went with them. What was it they said, Umar? How did they get you to so easily leave your family? Oh, my boy, I hope they are treating you well. They would want you healthy, wouldn't they? To ride their precious camels? I must hold on to that thought. I awakened this morning and turned over expecting you to be on your rug, but you were not. It was almost more than I could bear. Poor Ami, she was so distraught, her hands shook. We decided to ignore Uncle Rubel and we went out looking for you ourselves. We went to many, many, many markets. We even traveled all the way to the Empress Market to see if you somehow found your way there. So many young boys wandering the streets. I kept thinking, why didn't they take one of them? Isn't that terrible? They should not be taking anyone. We went to the police again. I did not like it there, Umar, and I hope we do not have to return. It was so noisy. It smelled worse than Uncle Rubel. The constable kept getting interrupted. He said they were doing all they could. Many people had reported stolen children, he said, and the police would work very hard to find them, only to discover later that the family had actually sold the children, which was illegal, too. The constable warned. He treated us like we were criminals. The city seems too big, Umar. Where are you? We cry ourselves to sleep, Ami and I. It is too sad in this place. Tomorrow I will have to return to work. I want to take Mother with me, but she believes you will return here. I told her Auntie Parveen will make certain that you know where we are. I'm sorry to tell you, Umar, but the body of a young boy was returned to his parents today. He lived down the street. He was only 2 years older than you. His parents sold him to the smugglers, and now they only have his lifeless body. I thought Ami would collapse right there and then when she heard the boy's mother screaming. I went to work today, Umar. I dreamed you were crying and calling for me. I want to keep looking for you but cannot go on my own. It is times like these I wish I were a man or a boy, so I could look for you by myself more freely. I keep crying. I cannot help it. And you know that it is unusual. I don't cry. I'm afraid you are dead, but wouldn't I feel it? Wouldn't I know that my baby brother was dead? I didn't know when Baba died. I was at work. I knew he was sick, of course, but I didn't know that he would close his eyes and never open them again on that particular day. I was laughing and cleaning the house with Fatima, I remember, and Baba was gone. I do not want to think about these things. Salik cleaned out the tiny house. He painted it too, and the workers are coming in to put in the tiny kitchen and tiny bathroom. Dury saw it and told his mother that he wanted to live there. I was so afraid that they would let him. Then where would Almi be? At least if she is here, I can look after her. I hope she will recover enough from your disappearance to be able to cook for Begum Nasim and her family. If I knew where the smugglers took the camel kids, maybe I could get someone to go there and rescue you. I don't know what to do.